I posted a video a couple of days ago entitled, I released 115 songs, here are the 5 biggest lessons I've learned, or something equally as enticing as that. And I got a decent amount of feedback or questions from people about the 5th point, in which I talked about boosting your signal or investing your money into ads and playlisting. I wanted to make a little video exploring, with no real plan, my thoughts around this and some sort of suggestions for if this was in any way interesting to you. But before I dive into that, I also want to just tackle, there was a specific comment I got from somebody here. Let me just pull it up. And it actually illustrated a very interesting belief, I think, that holds a lot of people back here. It was this guy, General4452. He said something like, great points, I completely agree, but some people just don't want to play the social media game. Like myself, I don't want to spam people, hey guys, blah, 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 even if it's authentic. And he basically goes on to say that consistency in music without consistency on social media is a waste of energy, in his opinion. And blah, 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 he goes on to say a bunch of other quite interesting things about not hating the player or hating the game and such. But I wanted to look at this because my response to him was, I see where you're coming from, but I totally disagree. And I'm going to explain to you why that is. And I wouldn't have necessarily always thought or believed this, but I think particularly over the past couple of years, I've come to realize how, frankly, you don't really need to do that much social media. Now, I'm going to explain to you why that is. Probably in a little bit more depth as this video goes on. But for starters, I just want to get it across the fact that I don't really do that much social media. Sure, I'm talking to you now on this YouTube channel, but the funny thing is, I don't think the majority of you even know my music. Sometimes I talk about my music on this channel and people are like, oh, you make music? And, you know, probably a lot of you think of me as some sort of YouTube teacher, educator guy, and that's what I do. But no, I'm a full-time music producer, and I've had an immense amount of success with that. As I said in the other video, I've had 70 million streams on 115 songs that I've put out, and I'm very successful as a fully independent music producer. I'm very respected in my scene. I've also got a bunch of comments of people recently saying like, I don't even know you and all that. And it's like, it's totally fine. If you don't make house music, you're probably not going to know me. If you're into breakcore or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's beside the point. What I'd like to say though, is that I don't have that many followers on Instagram, and I don't really post that often on Instagram. I've been very bad at it, in fact. I've had managers and I've had booking agents over the years, particularly in the past, that would say to me like, Lex, you know, we really want to help push your career, but you need to do more social media. You need to be making engaging content. And frankly, even like 5 or 6, 7 years ago, before things got as social media-y as they have now, according to public perception of what you need to do to be a successful artist, I remember just being like, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to do this. I don't want to sit down and work out like what to post, you know? And so I have had some pretty good engagement on social media upon occasion. And that would be because the only time I would ever post is when I had something I wanted to say. And that thing that I wanted to say would usually be something akin to the kinds of beliefs I share on this channel about the importance of heartfelt, authentic creativity and expression as a human being, and the importance of freedom in an age where it perhaps feels like it's being taken from us. But I'm not consistent with it, and I definitely haven't ever been consistent with social media. Even like a couple of weeks ago, I said for the millionth time, like, you know what? I've changed my opinion about social media. I'm going to be consistent now. And I did a post 3 days in a row. And I didn't post again for another couple of weeks because frankly, I don't give a fuck. That being said, I still get millions of streams on my songs. Not all of them, mind, as I've explained in the previous video, you can't really tell which ones that's going to happen to. But the key is that if you want people to hear your music, you need them to hear your music. If making social media posts, if making Twitter or Instagram or TikTok reels isn't actually getting people to listen to your music, then you're kind of wasting your time anyway. It does take a pretty decent amount of time to make content. So if you're not actually creating some kind of funnel for those people upon checking your Instagram or whatever, blah, 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 to actually go and listen to your music, yeah, what's the fucking point of that? So this is why I said to this wonderful gentleman, General4452, that no, and I'm actually going to read my exact response to this chap. I said that I see where you're coming from, but I totally disagree. If you run ads and do playlisting, you don't even really need to do social media posting. You want people to listen to your music, so all you have to do is get them to do that. Ads are very powerful and can scale as much as you can invest. Now, I also said in the video the other day that if you don't have any money, or if you don't want to invest in it, well, ads aren't really going to work because you have to actually pay money. But money, time, whatever. Do you want to go and post things on Instagram that you don't enjoy doing? Or would you perhaps try and find some avenue to invest in your music? Okay, now my spidey senses are tingling here that there's something else that I should jump into, which is the fact that there's a very important question that you must ask about sharing your music. And that is, okay, whatever, why you like making music? Oh, because it's this incredible experience of unity with God, whatever. Okay, forget that. For now, why do you want people to listen to your music? This is a bigger question. Is it because you want to have a career in music? Is it because you want to actually have financial remuneration from your efforts creatively? Because if so, that's fine, and that is one pocket. However, I'm going to be real with you, it's not super financially viable to try and become a successful artist from streaming numbers alone. Shocker, I know you probably didn't know that. Or music sales. Although again, I would say there's a couple of caveats there, that if you go and play the game, grassroots, actually network with people, build fan bases, the old 1,000 true fans and all that, it's quite possible to do that. But most people aren't going to do that, and frankly, I don't do that. You know, I've made around about $600,000 now, like just through Tash as a project. But I'm going to be real with you, a large amount of that has been through coaching. I say a large, probably like, you know, I don't know, some percentage of that has been through coaching. A big percentage of that also was touring, playing gigs. I would be paid between $2,000 to $3,000 on average for DJing for an hour and a half. So that adds up. Streaming though, streaming and purchases, with all my millions of streams, I probably only make like $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 every quarter. I can't really be totally sure about that because frankly I'm not very good at tracking the numbers. Let's say between $3,000 and $5,000 if I actually add up all of the sources of that revenue from streams. And you know, unless you're living in Angola herding goats, it's probably not going to be a very good source of income if you'd like to fund your entire life around that music. So this then leads me back to the whole question of like, well, why do you want to make music? If you want to make music, or if you want to put out music and share your music because you want it to be the source of your income, I would instead recommend that you try and create a service or a business that is gelled to your music. What do I mean by this? Well, you know, sometimes you've got these Persian dudes in LA who have like a rug shop, and next to the rug shop they've also got a restaurant, and they're brother and brother and all that kind of stuff. Very weird metaphor here, but my point is the fact that can you make a business that is linked to your main business of music that isn't necessarily dependent on streams? That's what I did. I teach, I coach, I educate people, I sell courses and all of that. And in order to do that, and I hear people going like, oh, but I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm not a businessman. Neither was I. I started my entire life being like, I don't want to ever have an office job, I don't want to do any of this business shit, I don't want to use a spreadsheet, fuck me. I just want to be a cool, creative man and just have a great time doing art and all that. Just making sure that this video is still recording because I'd be very pissed if it wasn't. Backpedal, slightly forgot what I was saying here. Yeah, business. So for example, there is a chap in my community named by Tom Gatley, produces music under Eternal Self, wonderful chap from the big British Isle of England. And he makes video. He is a video editor, whatever you'd call them, those people who deal in video. And he would like to do music full time. And my advice to him was, okay, well, why don't you do video for musicians? Why don't you specifically go and help musicians with their video? And I know you may be like, oh, but that's not being a full-time musician. But the thing is, it's adjacent, which means that you get to stay in that sphere of like working and connecting and networking with other musicians. But the key here is that you're utilizing a skill that you already have to help other musicians who can't do it themselves. So say, for example, one of the other businesses I'm working on is helping musicians set up their advertising, set up their email marketing, being able to set up all the things that, frankly, I had no idea how to do when I started out and probably should have done a lot sooner. But a lot of musicians don't know how to do that. I'm working with a couple of really pretty big name artists with many millions of monthly listeners who you would be shocked to know that they have no sense of understanding of what to do with a mailing list, even though they've actually accumulated a fair number of email addresses. And all this to say the fact that advertising your music, I don't think, shouldn't come, I think I did a double negative there, but put it this way, I'm not advertising my music so that more people will hear it so that I can make more money. I'm advertising my music because it's how I get my brand known. And sure, there is a symptom of having a bigger brand, which is that you get more streams, which means that, yeah, I'm earning money. But I'm not making music to make money. That doesn't mean I'm not making money from making music, but my set is more on just sharing my music with the world. So, advertising. I'm going to speak to two specific angles here. Again, as I mentioned in my previous video, I seem to have this real niche target audience with these YouTube videos of middle-aged men who are software engineers. I would actually love, if you are a middle-aged man who is a software engineer, if you could just comment below, hello, middle-aged man, software engineer here. Because I'd really like to get a gauge on how many of you fuckers are watching these videos. But one thing that I do know about software engineers is that you tend to have like a pretty good salary. You tend to have a pretty good amount of income at your disposal. Therefore, you don't necessarily want to go and create a music career and drop all of the software engineering stuff to try and chase a far smaller salary. So if you were one of those kind of people, whether you're a software engineer or you're a doctor or you're a lawyer or whatever, and you have a full-time job that pays a huge amount of money for what, you know, otherwise you would having to be just selling your soul as a musician to create, stick with that and make your music and connect deeply with that experience. Like, really have a great time with what time you do have in the week to create music, but share that music. Use the money that you have to advertise that music. And again, I can make a more in-depth video of this moving forward if you guys are interested in the specifics of how I go about doing this. But don't be afraid of advertising that music, even if you don't want to do the social media game. Now, one small thing to mention there is that you would have to have an Instagram or Facebook account that these ads are running through, but you don't need to post shit. You don't need to say, this is what I had for breakfast. You don't need to post any pictures of you in your tighty whities in front of the mirror saying, I've just done a workout. None of that shit. All you have to do is have the account that will then show up as advertising. And now, okay, well, what did the ads say, you might ask? Nothing. Just put the fucking artwork. If the point of why you're trying to get people to listen to your music is that you want them to listen to your music, make the music the ad. Put the artwork, run a few variations with just the music. And actually one point that Mr. General 4452 had also mentioned is he said that he's definitely open-minded of using advertising as a replacement for spamming his stories and feed, blah, 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 blah. He's not sure how well it would work in a small, closely knitted, hypnotic, raw techno community where this is perhaps seen as try-hard, but will take advice nonetheless. The beautiful thing about running ads is that in this day and age, Facebook's godforsaken giant mega brain of advertising AI is actually pretty good, bearing in mind a couple of key points that, again, I can dive into in a later video, but it's actually pretty good at reaching the people who want to engage with your music. And so long as you, as I said, set up these various conversions that mean that Facebook can understand who has clicked and therefore show to people who are more like that, wonderful. Facebook will find, and by Facebook I mean Meta, so on Instagram as well, they will find the people who want to listen to your music. It's not going to go and show your hypnotic raw techno track to somebody who exclusively likes Ariana Grande, because it's stupid. You would stop running your ads if that were the case. Other thing there, he said about the try hard. that's something that really I can't tell you any more other than who gives a fuck? Who gives a flying fuck what the other hypnotic raw techno DJs think of you trying to share your music? I don't know what this obsession is in the underground, and frankly with just a lot of anything, this obsession with trying to not appear like you're trying hard. Of course you're trying. Of course. You want to share what you're doing with the world. And so if you can just like slap on this badge and be like, I'm not trying at all, you know, look at me. That never comes from a perspective of the fact that I genuinely don't want people to hear my music. That comes from the perspective of I am afraid of what I'm afraid of ... insert here. One of those is I'm afraid that people will think that I'm not okay with my mediocrity, you know, and I've built a fan base and I've built a friendship around the fact that none of us are really going anywhere with our efforts. And if I were to stand out, that would be awful. Potentially also, it's like I'm afraid of people noticing me. I'm afraid of being seen for my efforts. And well, newsflash, you're going to have to, at some point, if you want to develop an audience, get over, or at least push on through the fear of being seen. I know personally that it took me, in the 13 years that I've been doing this, professionally, mind, it's repeatedly, back and forth, takes me a real long time to get to the point of being okay with telling people that I want them to listen to my music. And I still don't at this point make a post and I'm like, okay, I've got a new track out. Hi guys, it's me, Tash, I've got a new track out and I'd really, really like it if you'd listen to it. I don't say that. That would be stupid and I would never engage with that content. But what I do say is I'm really excited about this new piece of music I've made. And I'm not lying, I'm really excited about it. It was a real honor getting to work with so-and-so. It was a challenge that I had to face to overcome this specific problem in the mix. And I share that. That is real, it's authentic. Does it necessarily convert in ways that perhaps more clickbaity content could? I don't really care, because as I said again, the whole social media thing, like, do it as much as you want. Like, you don't really need to do too much at all. But anyways, I just wanted to make this brief rambly video about why you don't really need to do that, and running ads is the key. In fact, you know what? I'll dive into it deeper in a later video, but I do just want to give you a quick guide on what I would suggest you do if you are in a position like many of the people who have commented on my previous video being like, well, how do you do this? What do you do? Okay, so I have a new song out, okay? I run my own label, Glitter Cowboy. I've released a lot of music on other big labels, but frankly, I've got the most growth, the most satisfaction out of owning all of my rights. So I run a label called Glitter Cowboy, which also gives me the joy and the absolute pleasure of when I finish a song, just shipping it and getting it ready. I don't have to go and spend 6 months trying to get people's approval to tell me, well done, Tash, we really like your track, we'd like to release it next year. No, none of that shit. So when I have a new track out, I get it ready, I ship it, I make the artwork. And then at that point, I don't really do too much. What I do then do is close to the date, I will get ready with a sort of bit of information about what the track is, and I will spend, I don't know, like $300, $400, $500 on a new release, and that will be evenly split between $200 on Submit Hub. I'll probably submit to, I don't know, 40, 50 playlists, and I tend to get around a 50% acceptance rate. So that means I'm spending $200 on being on 25 playlists, and then I'll usually spend about $300 over the space of a month on Facebook ads. And I tend to now do that directly through Facebook Ads Manager, but if you're just starting out, I would highly recommend that you use Hypedit, I don't know how you say it. You use their AI ad automation. And one key thing here is that never share the link to your song. I'm talking about Spotify here because that is my primary terrain, but never just go on Spotify, right click, share link of that song. Because I know I'll talk about this again more in a later video, but you're wasting people's attention. Because if somebody gets there and that track finishes, at the end of your song, they're going to play Ed Sheeran. They're going to play fucking Taylor Bus. They're going to take the attention away from you and autoplay onto something else. So look into deep linking playlists. This is actually worthy of a single video in and of itself that I'll do at a later point. But ideally, you just want to be able to run ads that bring people from cold, they don't know you, through to your Spotify account where they can listen to not just one, but ideally all of your songs potentially and become a fan. At that point, you don't need to talk to them on social media, you don't need to do any of that shit. If you want to, there are various other avenues that you could explore there through creating some form of call to action to get their email address or their phone number. And sure, that probably appears like quite try hard. So if that's too much for you, just leave it there, but run some fucking ads. I'm going to wrap this up now because I feel like I've been waffling on for, 21 minutes, and I don't plan to edit this video at all. So in the meantime, thank you all so much. Happy watching, and yeah, happy creating on this Wednesday, December the 18th. You may be aware I've got a bit of a redness to my face. I've been going to the beach pretty regularly lately, and I've been swearing off sun cream. So much love to you all, thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments if there is anything that rang true today or anything that you would like me to further explore in a later video. But much love.